Hello, welcome back to Thistledew Creations. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to work on some of my ephemera that I'm going to send to my family reunion this fall. So I was thinking I would try to do a couple of these a week at least. I'll be working on them all the time by making backgrounds and stuff, but I thought I would make today something for my second cousins, Danny and Brad. And what I've done is I've started with this masterboard that I made with the inside of check envelopes where it has the patterns inside. Made a collage of that on a piece of cover of an old catalog. And then I lined it inside with ledger paper. And that's kind of random. It doesn't have anything to do with the theme of the ephemera that I'm going to do, which isn't usually what I like to do, but I just wanted to use something that was pre-made this morning, so I grabbed this piece. And so it was just a little bit over 8.5 by 11. I spared you the time of watching me cut it down. So I've cut it down so that it was square because it was ripped out of the book. And then I folded it in half, scored it and folded it in half. After I did that, I had to even up my edges because it wasn't folded perfectly. I'm not very good with the scoreboard yet. And then I rounded the corners. So the only thing that I'm going to make you watch is inking. And I've lately been kind of fascinated when I watch other people ink, how we all kind of have our own method of inking. And mine is sort of going quick strokes off the edge of the page, and this is easy to ink because it's quite cardstock thickness now, because it was already a fairly thick catalog cover. I'm going to ink the spine here, even though I might end up covering it just while I'm in inking phase. And I'll do both front and back, and then I'm going to turn it inside out and do the same. I guess I could have done at least half of this before. I was really just prepping while my hubby was still in the house. He's out cutting the grass now. So try to get one done before he comes back in and interrupts me. So this is vintage photo. It's not darkening it a lot, but it is making it look old and vintage. And the ledger is really quite clean. I haven't coffee dyed any of this ledger yet. I just used it because the blue lines went well with the blue check interiors or envelope interiors that I used. That's the reason I used this when I backed that collage. I'm just about done here. See, I don't usually do much of this, but I've been seeing a lot of other YouTubers inking this way. I always do it like this. To me, it's the same sort of speed and action as when I peel potatoes. I go short, sharp, quick strokes with the tool. You boys watching this to see how I made this might find that last comment comical. Anyway, I decided I was just digging through the pile of photos that I printed off. I printed off a bunch of old family photos to do these projects with, and I didn't really know. I was actually thinking Father's Day when I sat down, and then I decided to do this instead. So see, my spine cracked quite a bit. So I might have to put something around the spine, which will actually add to the design. So I kind of figured out a bit of a layout. So I had this picture of my cousins, Danny, Wayne, and Brad. And Brad's on his bike, and Dan is either trying to help him learn because he's still got training wheels on. Either he's trying to help him learn or he's trying to prevent him from going. He's pressing pretty hard on that seat, I think. So tell me for sure, Dan, what were you really doing? And then I had this ad out of an Eaton's catalog for bicycles. So I thought I would combine them. They don't have Eaton's where these guys live. It's in West Virginia. So Eaton's is more of a Canadian company, I think. Well, I know it is, but I thought I would just cover up the Eaton's part by kind of positioning them this way, and it still shows the prices, the old-timey bicycle prices. So I thought I would do that for this side, and then for the other side, I have a whole bunch of old photos. Every time we would go to West Virginia, we would take, dozens of these photos with the fall foliage, because we usually go in October. So I thought I would just use some of the photos. I don't need to keep them in a catalog. I mean, I'll have some because we've taken so many over the years. But I thought instead of like reprinting these ones, I'll just use them. They're not precious. They're on Kodak paper, so they won't fade like my printed ones might. So like they were printed back in the day at a photo printing place, not just home printer. So I thought I would use an actual photo. So I just tore the edges of it, and I made sure that I tore it so that there was white. So if you tear towards yourself, you're going to get a white strip on the piece on the left. If you tear away from yourself, you don't get it, right? So I wanted the white because I wanted to ink it. So pull towards yourself like this, and you'll get that white. And sometimes you don't want it, but this time I do. And just like that. So they're not precious photos. If there was the only photo of my great-great-grandparents or something, I would photocopy it and use it. But this is for personal use, personal projects, and it's a great way to use them, actually. And then I thought I would put Danny Wayne up at the top here. And I kind of did want the West Virginia scenery to be a bit of a focal point. So that's why I'm covering Danny Wayne up a little bit. And then Brad down in the bottom corner here. So they're in kind of the same order that they are on the paper. So this is Brad and this is Danny. And then I've just picked out a few different little embellishments that I could use to accent the pages. I've got this piece of ticking stripe, which to me just looks old-timey. And because I'm not getting a lot of the blue showing, I wanted to add a little bit more. And I think this works with the bicycle side here. So I'm going to put it underneath the photo, but on top of the ad, and angle it up like that, sort of. And I think I'll put the... Actually, I'm going to use the back side of it because this is bothering me. This has a bit of glue with paper stuck to it, which I could probably get off if I wet it and worked on it. But the back side of it is a little bit more faded looking anyway. So I'll do it like that. And then to me, the ticking stripe just looks old-timey, so it goes well with the bike. And then I thought maybe a page tab, and I picked out a couple of things for page tab. One was... some burlap with buttons sewn on. This was a ribbon that came like this. And I thought I could do that so we get a button on each side. Or the red stripe. These guys are both kind of into sports and stuff. So I thought maybe the red stripe with the ribbon end might be a good accent as well. So I haven't decided on that. I pulled out some rickrack in blue and black and some ribbon with bicycles and unicycles and double bicycles. I thought that was a cute addition, possibly. So I just never know for sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but that's the basic gist. So let's start with putting the bicycle picture down. So I'm going to grab something to glue on. And I'm going to start with my Elmer's all-purpose glue stick that I just get at Dollarama. And I like to go all over the back of whatever I'm gluing down, especially once it gets to be, this size or larger kind of thing. And then I do tacky glue around the edges. I find that this method, things stick down really well. They feel very firmly stuck down once they dry. And I don't see lifted edges in the ephemera that I have stored. I specifically keep some kind of stored in my craft room to make sure that after a few months I can go through it again and make sure that it's not coming unglued. First few things that I did with just glue stick, it always kind of comes loose on the corners and the edges. So that is everything's pretty smooth. So just smoothing it with my fingers seems to work, but you can also use your bone folder or credit card. I've got a blank credit card that I got somewhere, and I will just do that. And that gets that white glue spread out so it's not staying in a line and then transferring through the paper, and it also makes sure that it gets right to the edges. So that's on. And then I was going to do this piece, and I would use either the tacky glue or 3-in-1. I'm going to use tacky glue today. I'm going to use it this way. I think I'm going to ink those edges too. Actually, I'm just wondering if I do, maybe I'll just ink the spine up more rather than trying to add something, because I'm putting this pretty close to the spine and I don't want to, of course, if I do it this way, I can add something else to cover this cut edge. That's what I'll do. So I'm just going to ink this pinked edge so that it looks a little more old and grungy, vintage. And then I'll put just well, actually I could use this glue stick again. I have done that several times too. Just making sure that it's got glue everywhere. And then this white glue ensures that it stays stuck, and it also gives me a little bit of time to move it around exactly where I want it. So if I lay it down and it's not quite where I want it, I can move it up and down. And actually moving it up and down like this actually helps spread the glue. And once it becomes more difficult to move, you know that it's starting to set up and you're good to move on. So I really like that technique as well. So I thought I'd share that with you. And then the photo of the two of them, I just love. I'll put it sort of down in the corner here. Yeah, I want to do it so that it goes past the piece of fabric. It doesn't line up. Don't want it lined up like that. I could do it over like this, but I want those numbers exposed, so I'm going to go just beyond. And that's why I think I'm not going to add anything on the spine. I'll just, I'm going to go back over it and ink it again to get rid of all these little white bits that showed up from the cracking. And so for that, again, I'm going to do the same method, the Elmer's glue. This is on photo paper, but it's, and it is Kodak photo paper actually, but it's for home printer use. And when I printed the photo, it's a photo from probably the late 60s, early 70s anyway, probably early 70s. But I printed it in vintage mode. My computer lets me do that. So, and then I also cut around the edges with my ripple scissors, which I love, and inked that edge and put ink on the face of the photo as well, because it's glossy photo paper too, which I'm not crazy about. I know photos are usually glossy, but I just wanted this to look old-timey, even though it's not like from the 20s or anything. Just want it to have like an old-timey feel. So just darkening up that picture, making it look a little more old, aged. And I did that on these photos too, because you can see, you can find, I might have a duplicate of one or something similar. Some of the photos I have are quite brown beige already. And then there's a modern one from the early 2000s. What's wrong, Mama? She's never said anything like that before. Like there's one from the 70s that's quite, I did print it in vintage, but think she's being sick. Yuck, I have to go clean that up after. There's a better example there. So that's the kind of coloring it was originally, and then I've darkened it down. And I'll do the same to this one when I do it. I'm going to send that to Brad for Father's Day if I can get it done in time. Well, it'll probably arrive late, but he'll understand and he'll appreciate the gesture. So that's that one. Now, if I could find some tickets or something that kind of go with it, I would include something like that as well. So probably blues. Let's see, I've got my ticket box here. Now, those are black and white. I kind of have them sorted by colors. And then on the top of each box, I have one ticket to indicate what color's in that box. So I do have some reds in this one and some blues in that one. So I'll grab them. And then, what else have I got? That's kind of, I'm thinking of them and the bicycle and sporty, and just trying to see what I've got that's kind of going to go with that theme. I've got blue coupon tickets, but there's one that's a little bit more, I don't like the 13. Very superstitious. My mom raised me to be quite superstitious. We would go to a store. She was buying something and it came out to $13 or so much money and 13 cents. She would buy something else to get that 13 out of her life. And I just learned from her. So no, I don't see anything jumping out at me that admit one. These are obviously modern tickets, but I could ink those up pretty good. Although it doesn't really go with the bike theme either. Sorry, I'm just waffling on that. I'm going to pull that out and see what happens. Might not end up using it on this. And then these little ones are all oranges and yellows and reds. I suppose that could work too. Just with some of the colors in the photos. So these blue ones, what have I got? That would need to be inked. Something like that, maybe. I could find a little gear or something. Kind of go with a bit of a steampunk feel. I think I find an oval one with red, just for some variety there. These little packs I get on Temu. There's an oval one. And when you're doing small collages and ETCs and stuff, you do need small tickets, so tickets and labels. So that's why I picked them up, and they have been very handy. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this one. I'm gonna use my Wanda scissors and just follow the blue line, just leaving a tiny little white line. And then I will ink it. I just don't want it to be that square shape with the rounded corners. It just is so obvious that it's just a printed ticket, so this makes it look vintage and real. And then of course the inking makes it look old. If I had navy blue ink, I might use that just to cover the white, but that makes it look old, so that's good. And then these are small enough that I don't worry about using the glue stick. I just use some tacky glue. So I'm going to put this one about here. And then grab my tweezers. I promised myself I would start. They're right in front of me. I don't know why I don't grab them more often. See if this has a top and a bottom. Yep. It's a theater ticket, but I'm not too worried about what it says. Just trying to get that color again. And even though this one isn't white, it's off-white, I'm still going to ink the edges. It just makes that red border look a little thicker. And these don't need a lot of glue, they're pretty thin. There we go. I want to be careful, I got a little bit of glue on the photo. I'm trying to get that off. All right, and then on this back side, I have the 3 photos. I just wanted to include the foliage of the West Virginia mountains there in between the two. Actually, maybe I will put Danny over top. And maybe because of the way the hill's going, I'll do it this way. Yeah, you can change your mind on the fly. So I do it all the time. I could even leave that torn edge covering the top of Danny's head, because Brad's head, because his head's cut off anyway. And if I do that, then the West Virginia photo kind of bridges the two of them. Yeah, I think I'll do it that way, and then this hill going up this way works good. And then I'm gonna try some rickrack here and see how it looks. Maybe that's what I could put on the spine or close to the spine. I think the black is a nice accent. Or just the bike. I don't think the bike's gonna get used, as cute as it is. And maybe what I'll do is a strip of it down here, and I could even put Brad's picture on top of it, and then a strip up here. Get rid of that kinky part. And it could be sort of overlaid on the photos. That way I'm using some of that rickrack, because I've had it for a while and I haven't used it. And then, let's see, is there something else I want to include on here? Gives me some spaces that I could still add some more embellishments. I have trouble with the guy stuff a little bit more than the girl stuff. Like, I don't want to put a butterfly, or I could put bees. Our family motto or whatever theme is bees, because we are the Barnhouse bees. That's their last name and my mom's maiden name. So I could do something like that. Bees. I've got all these bee labels. So these ones are kind of vintage looking. Let's see here. And then I've got some really nicely fussy cut bees that could also, maybe that's all I need to do, is a couple of those, just to fill those empty spaces and make it seem a little bit more collaged. I'm just gonna take a quick flip through these, but I think that's what I'll do, is the fussy cut ones. So these are all just little labels as well, but they're bee themed, so that's why they're in this little bee pouch that I got from Temu. Actually, I think my sister gave me this one. So that's what I'm gonna do there. probably end up using up a lot of these for these family ephemeras. To think of a name to call them. A catchy name. So I'm just inking around the white edges. This was these bees were printed on white paper. So I just want to get rid of most of the whiteness. And then I think they need something kind of, well, they've got the black and white patterns in behind them, but I think I would like something else in behind them. Maybe, well, I've already got the rickrack on this page. See, normally I would grab some lace or something, but it doesn't really work here. I do have some denim-y blue ribbon that could work, because it works with the color of the background. So let's do, yeah, let's do this all the way up, leaving the, I'm going to still leave the spine and I'm going to re-ink it. Let's cut this about here. I always cut on an angle or do a ribbon end. I never like to see a square end unless it's something frayed. That's just the way I design. So let's put this down first, and this doesn't need any inking because it's already kind of beige tone. And then let's use the glue stick to get it all over. Hopefully I'm in frame for you on my glue book. And I didn't turn the page because it was quite a while in between gluing. I figured it's dry enough. Make sure I get all the way to the tips. And that's probably all it needs. So I'm going to put this a little ways away from the end, from the spine, just about the same distance as I did on the front. And just pull it up and down until it's where I could like to see it. And then this bee can overlap it here. You see, that's what I was going for there. I'm going to go ahead and turn this page. And then Danny was Danny was underneath and he was over to this side. And that way this rickrack will be partly on his picture and partly on the blue. So let's get him glued down. And if you have trouble remembering how you had it arranged, like if you collage and you like to sort of lay it out ahead of time like I just did, if you have trouble remembering exactly where everything was, take a little picture of it before you start to glue everything down, and then you'll be able to remember. So I'm just going to put that really close to the edge. It's just barely up on the edge of the ribbon. And then again, I will, excuse me, spread it out a little bit. I tell you, these cousins of mine, we didn't get to see each other nearly enough as we were growing up. We would see them twice a year, and that was it. We would go down every spring or fall, and they would come up here in the middle of summer. And I guess because it was so freaking hot down where they lived, they had a place to escape to a slightly cooler climate. They would come up here to fish and visit us. And usually the men would go fishing, and the moms and the kids would do all sorts of things, shopping and daily outings and things. It was always a lot of fun. And when we would go down to visit them, it's about a 10 to 12 hour drive. With 3 kids in the car, we often had to make a lot of stops, so that affects how long it takes. There, I'm going to do that so it's not lined up right exactly with the edge of the picture. And then this wants to go, oh, that goes on the very top. This goes over to this side, so let's do Brad next. So yeah, we would do all sorts of different outings. We've got pictures of us at the Coburg Beach, which is one of the cards that I'm going to do. Great memories from that. When Brad and Anita, his wife, came up to visit in, I believe it was 2017, he wanted to go to the beach because he remembered going to the beach when we were kids. Well, we don't go to the beach anymore in Coburg. It's a lot different now than it was back in the 70s, but we took him there so he could see, and it was so crowded and so noisy, and I mean, it's still beautiful because it's the beach, but we don't go there because a lot of people from outside of town go there and kind of take over to the point where you can't enjoy it as a local anymore. But we took him there to see it, and he was kind of amazed at how different it was from what he remembered, because he's probably remembering it from the pictures that we took in the 70s. So I think I have some pictures from that too. Maybe I should include them in that card. Go through my photos again. So Brad gets a little zigzag underneath him, and Danny gets it up the side here. And the bees will go last, I think. This will go sort of here. Yeah. And then I just don't know, maybe that will lap onto both pictures. So let's do this. I just like to make sure that my glue book isn't sticky where I'm gonna lay the picture down. I've got to start using up my glue books too. I've got piles and piles of old brochures saved that I can use to glue, and I often don't use a glue book, and it doesn't make sense because I have so much paper that I can use for that. I don't want to cover too much of Brad's head. There we go. Again, that back and forth motion helps it to stick. And that I just want, yeah, that's actually even good. Sort of interrupting the zigzag is kind of cool. And then the bees. Do I want to put something else over here? This red is almost looking like it's too bright for this project, unless I really can ink it. Let me just grab. I could do that to it. Papa red isn't a bad thing, because the red, white, and blue is important to them too, right? So we'll see on that. Where's my two bees? I want this one up here and this one down here. So these, I'm just going to use the tacky glue. Get some out onto each little leg, and I should be using my tweezers. So this guy goes kind of sideways. And hold it right here. I can get glue on all the extremities here. So Brad and Danny, I hope that you're watching to see how your card was made. I'll definitely put them on Facebook and tag you so that you'll know to watch. So those sometimes have trouble sticking down. You got to give them a little pressure. That's thin cardstock. So when they have, whoever gets this one, I don't know, I'm going to send them all down there and they can fight over them. We're not going to we call it the B, the family reunion, we call it the B. We're not going this year, but we wanted to send some stuff. So my sister did a bunch of stuff and sent it. And then this is what I'm going to send, is family photo ephemera. So then what I thought, we're gonna re-ink this edge and let it be torn. And then I thought I would do a pocket inside with the top edge left as the edge of the photo. Actually, I will ripple it just so that it's not so. Actually, I'm going to ripple it in a bit of an arc so that it looks kind of more like a pocket. The other thing, when you use the photos like this, you can take things out, like a pole and a hydro line were in the edge of this photo, so I tore them out, tore it right off. So inking up the edges, the white edges that I intentionally let form. And then what I'll do is I will tuck a little note or something into the pocket that talks about my memories of them and things like that. I'll look for something maybe bicycle themed, or maybe like a piece of music that has a bicycle theme. So that's going to be a pocket. I'm just trying to decide where I want it. I think here, so when you open it, you see it. So I'm going to hold this edge so I don't glue on this edge, and I'm just going to go just in from the edge and kind of follow the shape that I've torn. Excuse me. Oh, we're all feeling a little bit sneezy today. I've been outside for the last few days. Brian's cutting the grass, so maybe it's just a pollen thing. That looks good. And then I think it just needs a little something. Actually, here's where I could maybe use the bicycle ribbon. Even though it's gonna, well, actually I won't cut this bicycle off. What I'll do is I'm gonna cut just beside it there, and I can fray both of those edges and use it somewhere else. I don't really care if I have the unicycle in there, but let's put a ribbon end on this, and I can still keep the bicycle, or unicycle. Let's do this. Actually, that makes me want to move that up a bit, but it's too late. So I'll do one of each. I'll do it on the other side of the unicycle here. So fold it in half lengthways and then cut it on an angle, and you'll get a perfect ribbon end if you've got it perfectly in half. So that's something that took me a while to figure out. I finally saw someone else doing it, so I'm going to show you that again. So I'll do it to this piece of red and white stripe. So fold it in half lengthways, and if you fold it, if you cut it this way, you're going to get a point, right? Usually what I want is the ribbon end. So you cut it this way and you get that nice ribbon end, is what I call it. I don't know if that's the proper term for it. And you'll get a bunch of little scraps. These are a little bit too small to use. That one could be useful. So I think I'll just put that. I'm going to leave this jagged edge exposed and put that like there. Now that covers too much of it, doesn't it? I'll put that over here or up here somewhere. We got, what do we got? A little farm down in this corner. So let's do that, even though we're covering up the wonderful jagged edge. And this I should be able to, again, use the glue stick, and then I need less tacky glue. angle here. Let's do that. And then I can just ink this too. It doesn't have to be left so white. Sometimes those polyester ribbons don't take the ink very well, but that did pretty good. And then I will find some things to slip in the pockets. I'll show you just what I would do with these. Would be ink them up. This is probably not what I'm going to leave in here, but just so you see what I mean with these tickets. These are very modern tickets, brand new, from my nieces Jack and Jill. But we just put something in the pocket so they realize it's a pocket, not just a picture glued on the corner. Yeah, so that's done except for the tab. And so if I'm going to put it into a book, I mean, this is the photo that really inspired it, and that's why I put both of their pictures. So I could put the tab over here, but if I put it in a book on the left side, I could put the tab over here. It doesn't really matter. And then I have to decide which tab I'm going to use. I could put it at the top too. I think I'm going to put it on this side and use, so I could, and the burlap isn't really their style, but this with a bit of ink on it might do the trick for me, might satisfy my desire to have it vintage and go more with their theme of being like sporty little guys. So that I'm going to glue around the edge of the page, the front cover, so it'll be inside here as well. So I'm going to glue it down. I'm not going to glue it to itself. Like, I'm not going to put glue up here. I'm going to leave it as a loop. And then I'm thinking out loud here that what I would like to do is put a grommet. Sorry, I know I'm off camera there. Just put a little glue there. And like I said, I want to leave it like a loop. And I want that to look fairly straight with the ledger. And then I think I'm going to put a grommet through that. So I'll grab my Timu crocodile. And I think a silver grommet is what I want. And I'm saying grommet. We call them, what do we call them? I can never remember it. I can only remember grommet. You're probably yelling it through the screen at me, I know. I left them in these little baggies so they'd be easier to get out or to keep straight, and they're hard to get out. So I'm just going to put it right into the little, this container comes with a spot for several different types that fit around the tool. So that needs the bigger hole. Right in the middle of the red. And definitely want the good side on the front here. And then you put a ring on the back side. And then you squeeze it with the squeezy part. Eyelets. So you all know approximately how bad my memory is. I could remember it within the context of the video. I'm not too far gone yet. Turned 59 on May 24th, so I'm starting to be more aware of that kind of thing. So I like the way that touch of red and the blue stripes, and I think maybe what I need for these fellas is maybe a star or two as well, because they're superstars in my book and they're American, so they are into the red, white, and blue with the stars. So let's see what I've got for USA stuff. I didn't pull any out, but I'm right here by my little box of fussy cuts. And I do have a section in here that is USA, so I should have something. I've got Canada, USA. What have I got? Not a whole lot. I could definitely put a postage stamp. I've got Statue of Liberty, a little flag. There's some little heart-shaped flags. Maybe a USA stamp would be better. I could put a flag, but I don't want to cover those numbers. I could put a flag in here if I grunge it up. I think I might do better with some postage stamps in this case. And I really do need to find more USA things for these cards that I'm going to be doing. Some of them, like I know these guys have been up to Canada enough that they wouldn't mind having some Canadian references on it. But I think some of my relatives get tired of all the Canada stuff that we always bring Canada things with us when we go. There's a maple leaf. A bit too big. Let's see what I got for stamps. I only have a few stamps kind of real handy, but they're mostly recent ones, and I know I've gotten things from the States, so let's see. I'm trying to think where all of my postage stamps are. I've got so many, and I know I probably have them in a box somewhere. There they are. This is a better assortment, I think, to choose from. I've got these ones sorted a bit. Let's see. These are all stamps that I cut off of Happy Mail, all of these ones in the front. So they've all got like the envelope still attached to them. These are Canada ones, a lot of them. There's one. They'd like that. So I usually cut stamps with my ripple scissors, and then I'll ink the edges. And where do I want that? Right down here. Get the red and the blue triangulating here. And then do I want another one in here? Could do something different in here, but still USA. Sometimes I take the whole cancellation stamp with it. Cut it out. What do we got here? Canada. Just a gray stamp. Netherlands, no, that doesn't mean anything to them. Dutch. There's a different USA stamp. Similar, but it's different. So I will leave a couple of them attached to each other. And I think just like that, kind of brings the red over to here. Doesn't really interfere with the picture. I'm gonna go in a bit. Oh, I want to cover, and I don't want it lining up with this. It's kind of lining up with the ribbon, but I don't have much choice. It's too late to move the ribbon. Okay, so that, and then I'll tuck a note in there, something about brothers and bicycles. So I hope that one of you get this and enjoy it. If not, it'll be someone else who loves you that gets it, because there will be lots to choose from. And I'm not going to say this one's for so-and-so and this one's for so-and-so. I'm just going to let you guys take the one you like. And I think I'm going to put, I'm trying to decide here whether I want red, or I mean blue or black here. I think more black. Just to give it some punctuation on the front. I'll let that go down onto the picture. And it's covering up this cut edge. I don't like cut edges of fabric. It's nice to have so many things accessible to my work area when I'm doing this. I don't plan things out right down to the last detail before I start. And I was watching this morning Gail Augustinelli's video where she showed her arm's length tour of her craft room. And it made me feel so good to know that I'm fairly normal. It's the sad part is it's in my dining room right now that I film and have my stuff all around me. It looks very messy when you walk in the dining room, but we don't have or plan to have any guests for dining. And I mean, it is going to be a problem when we do need to, because it would be a lot for me to move. But because of the pandemic and not having people over, I decided I'm not going to just let my dining room table sit there. I'm going to use it so that I can be out here in the living room and dining room with my husband when I craft. So, but her video made me feel normal because her stuff is set up and arranged pretty much exactly the way mine is. So I'm going to call that done. I'm very happy with that. I like the red accent and I love the grommet through it. Doesn't really serve any purpose. I mean, it's holding the ribbon in place if the glue were to let go. But I just think that they're going to love these. I certainly hope that they will. And I hope you guys will let us know in the comments how you felt about being featured in my art and on my videos. So if you like to see more family photo ideas, do subscribe. I plan to do a lot of them this summer, leading up to October when the bee is. And I'm going to get back onto some Father's Day stuff now, I think. So like, comment, share, subscribe, and join me for the next video. Thanks a lot. Happy crafting.